I would also like to start by thanking the hosts, chairs, and everyone involved for being a part of this rich and mind-opening dossier, as well as this wonderful panel. It is an honor to be part of the same special issue with the late Professor Andrews. In addition to its numerous multidisciplinary entanglements, several of which have already been mentioned, the dossier is, as a whole, I believe, manifests the role of history and literature in the making of individual and collective selfhood as a political, discursive, performative, physical, material, and spatial phenomenon. In this regard, my contribution pertained to the construction and performance of the communal self through literature in a milieu of restricted literacy. It focuses on the literary corpus known as Alevi Bektashi literature and includes a case study of the 17th century poet Virani, who was an Abdal, Bektashi, and Hurufi. I propose to define Alevi Bektashi literature as a discursive tradition and identify three major discursive categories within this tradition as prescriptive, explorative, and charisma-loyal discourses. I question the relationship of these discourses to the predominantly oral context of the Alevi Bektashi milieu. The main premise of my argument can be summed up as follows. Different types of discourses, literary or otherwise, require different interpretive strategies. If we can discern the type of discourse embodied by a given text, we can take a step closer to determining the interpretive strategies required of its reader or listener, which would then inform us about the interpretive communities in which the text had currency. In the context of Alevi Bektashi literature, this would allow us to map out the various social contexts of the heterogeneous body of text at hand. The differences between genres can also be theorized from this perspective, as each genre would demand its own interpretive strategies and have its own interpretive community. Today, I would like to underline an aspect of my formulation that I didn't have the space to fully elaborate in my talk, the entanglement of different types of discourses within one text, in this case, one poem. My example today will be a Deish, Alevi liturgical poem attributed to Pir Sultan Abdal, famous Alevi poet believed to have lived in the 17th century. The poem I chose has been collected orally in the 1940s and is still used in the liturgy of the Alevi Cem ceremony. It thus also gives us a chance to extend beyond the pre-modern world. In line with my article's stress on the possibility of expanding these discourse types, I've also added a fourth type of discourse to my analysis of this poem, which I've termed antinomian discourse, based on the work of Ahmet Kara Mustafa on these dervish groups. I define this discourse as any discourse that exhibits a deeply critical view of social structures and purposefully seeks to deviate from the social norm. I can perhaps elaborate on this further in the Q&A. So this is a work in progress, as this can show you. I'm going to share my screen. Great. So this is the Turkish version, but I'm going to just read the translation for you. So here you see four types of discourses shown in four different colors. Some of these lines can be part of more than one discourse, in which case I had to select the more immediate discourse type. So I'm just going to read my translation for you. Greetings from us to the souls of the hypocrite Sufis. Come, those who have washed the city of their bodies. Come, those who have built the building of divine power, of the 7 layers of the skies and earth. Being a hypocrite Sufi is an easy job. What the perfect men see is a boundless dream. It is a flying bird with no flesh and no blood. Come, those who know the name of that bird. If you ask my master, it is Ali. Those shoes are nailed with gold. Who was it that followed the path of 40 arshans in the well? Come, those who know the pillars of this path. Pir Sultan says, my essence is in the face of the beloved. Let us guard it in the presence of the truth in our gaze. The soul does not leave the body before the grave is dug. Come, those who have performed the prayer of that soul. Such a mapping of poetry and various literary genres, albeit somewhat mechanic, opens room for us to trace discursive differences between different authors, as well as the historical evolution of various discourses within specific contexts. For instance, the prevalence of charisma-loyal discourse in the poetry of early 15th century poet Sadık Abdal, a member of the Bektashi Lodge of Seyyid Ali Sultan in today's northeastern Greece, can be contrasted with the prevalence of explorative discourse in the works of Kaygusuz Abdal, his precursors by half a century, who belonged to the Lodge of Abdal Musa in today's Antalya. The central role of charisma-loyal discourse in later Bektashi poetry and the marginalization of Pir Sultan Abdal and Abdal Musa's strand of thought can be linked to Bayezid II's appointment of Balum Sultan, a dervish of Sekizinci Sultan's lodge, as the head of the official Bektashi order upon its foundation in the 16th century. This led to the subsequent centrality of this lodge in the formation of Bektashi thought and practice. My point is that through a mapping of the discursive field, the historical evolution of literature and religious doctrine can be linked to our factual knowledge produced through archival work, thus further deepening the innate entanglement of literature and history. The establishment of the interpretive communities linked to various Alevi Bektashi discourses can offer us a venue for exploring the frontiers of the Alevi Bektashi tradition in the Ottoman world. Understanding the relationship between Alevi and Sufi discourses can provide us with a framework for investigating not only Alevi Bektashi worldviews and their historical development, but also how these worldviews relate to political action. This can help us to strike a much-needed balance between the study of political history and religiosity in regards to Alevism. The corpus of Alevi Bektashi literature holds a vital role in this process. Thank you.